You know, every once in a while I see these comments from people that just hate how excited I am. And I'm guessing those are just the kind of people that hate fun or hate seeing people happy, and you know, that happens every once in a while, but maybe they're onto something, because if I say this is one of the coolest blasters I've ever had on my channel, well, I say that every once in a while, and that can kind of diminish from the other coolest blasters I've ever showed on my channel, but this is one of the coolest blasters I've ever had on my channel, because it's a shell-ejecting BuzzBee revolver. I don't really know what else you want from me, because when I prime this thing and then I press the button on the other side, it ejects the shell, so I can fire a dart. It fires it pretty darn far, and then I can rotate this and eject it. Seriously, if you don't want this, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Special thanks to my friend and his family who sent this off to me. You know exactly who you are. I can't thank you enough. Just watch the freaking video. I'm in my happy place because I have a revolver, and not just any revolver, probably the most revolver of revolvers. But first, let me welcome you to Tag Back, the show where every week we take a look at a blaster from the past to see what it can offer us today in the present, because this time we're taking a look at something that I didn't think I'd ever get my hands on for this channel. They're pretty rare. I don't really think they're all that expensive, like worth-wise, but they're pretty rare. This is the BuzzBee Mustang 6, and it's hard enough to find information on this blaster as is, because it's kind of an oldie. You can't tell by the ancient sticker on the front of it. I believe this one came out sometime around 2005 with the rest of the Rough Rider series, things like the rapid fire tech and the double shot. So this would have been the revolver to both of those weapons, completing your cowboy action loadout if you happen to be into that kind of thing with the whole BuzzBee shells. And yes, this does take BuzzBee shells, and yes, this is a revolver. I shouldn't really have to say a whole lot more, but this thing does work really, really nicely. For you see, you just open up this loading gate on the side, and you stick a shell in. And then you do have to manually rotate the turret, but it's not hard. I'm just doing it with my finger here. And it can hold, of course, up to 6 shells. And it's honestly not that hard to reload at all. Shells are relatively fluid to get in there. You close that up and you're ready to go. And then you prime the top of this thing here, which is kind of goofy. Revolvers don't usually use this kind of thing. I mean, maybe you can pretend it's a hammer, but it's a thing. And because we're using the BuzzBee shells, sometimes darts don't work, and sometimes they fly better than a jolt. It's really hard to say sometimes. Come on, you know you want to. Oh, I believe I know what happened. Yep, and sometimes, I mean, this is an old blaster, so if you run it too hard, it has a tendency to knock shells out of it. Let's go nice and slow. There we go. Yeah, some of those are going really, really far, and the rest of them are not. But now, it's empty. How do I get shells out of there? That's what this button on the side is for. So you open up the loading gate, you press the button, and it ejects the shell. And you can just rotate it, eject the shell. This is the coolest blaster ever. Seriously, I don't say that with any kind of hyperbole. This is a blaster I've wanted for a very long time that I haven't been able to get my hands on, and now I finally have my hands on it. I have the Torrent, which of course is a shell-ejecting shotgun, which I really wanted. I have a modified BuzzBee double shot, which is of course something really cool. And then of course I have the rapid fire tech, which is a rapid fire shell-ejecting lever action blaster. Not exactly all that good, but this is significantly better than that. That being said, it's still a BuzzBee blaster from 2005. It's not, you know, the end-all be-all. It's not competitive, although the distances I'm looking at right now, and I'll show you in just a moment, are pretty darn good, all things considered. I mean, it's technically usable if you want to shame somebody with a blaster, but you gotta keep in mind, it is using the BuzzBee shells. And these things are notorious for basically being air restrictors. They restrict air, that's what they do. This is effectively the barrel of your blaster. If you want to use one of these things and you want it to be reliable and somewhat efficient, you do have to modify the crap out of these shells. That being said, because it's got this lever action prime, I'm guessing it can handle a pretty decently high spring load. We're gonna have to see sometime in the future. This is Tag Back, not the modding section. I don't mod things on Tag Back. Maybe I have in the past, but I don't usually do it because that's a lot of effort for just trying to show you something that's really freaking cool. And honestly, you might be asking yourself, what good is it if it uses these shells? And for that, I have to just slap you and say, it's fun.
Are you threatening me?
The thing about these BuzzBee shells is that they're stupidly fun. Not a whole lot of things, in fact, nothing Nerf makes, or, nothing Boomco makes really, does anything close to what these shells do. And while they have been the bane of existence in the past, because they're kind of expensive to get, I got a pack of like 400 of them for $50. So, yeah, I have plenty, and I think that is still available. You might want to check the description down below to see if something like that is still capable of being done, because, I would recommend it. Now, it does rotate on the prime, not on the trigger pull. The trigger doesn't do anything but release the catch in the plunger to make it slide through the plunger tube to deliver air to the shell, which is, of course, in this barrel. But it still works pretty darn good. And then, of course, when it indexes, the next shell, the shell that's next to the loading gate, is the one that's empty. So they tried to make it basically as efficient as possible. So, out of the gate, it's almost perfect. It might be better if it had some kind of slide on it. Maybe if you could have some kind of hammer shot prime, but those don't deliver a whole lot of air power, as you probably have figured out. But all things considered, these things are awesome. It just happens to be they're a little bit rare. Most people don't even know they exist, and then on top of that, they're just hard to come across. Seriously, there's not a whole lot of information on these on YouTube, and there certainly isn't a whole lot of information out there on like Wikipedia and stuff like that. Does this actually have a, this is copyright 2006, so this might be a reshell. I do know there's 2 reshells I've seen. The wiki showed off one, which is kind of in the reverse of this colors, and then there was even one of, I saw a blue and orange one, like one of the recent BuzzBee stuff. It was probably released sometime in like another country or something like that. They could technically still bring this back. I mean, they brought back the rapid fire tech, so BuzzBee, if you happen to be watching, bring back this thing, because it's freaking awesome. So if for some reason you haven't seen this before, you take a shell, you take a dart, you put the dart in the shell. It's really not that hard to understand. You just kind of do that and push it down as far as possible. Now keep in mind, these darts are heavier than your standard elite dart, and they're also less aerodynamic because they have these big flat heads on them. Then you take your Mustang 6, open up that right there, you can see right down in there, and the shells slide in basically no problem at all. It's easier if you grip it from the front, therefore you can index the cylinder with your other hand and really increase your reloading speed. Put a couple more in there. You don't have to close up that loading gate, but I'm going to just because it's there. This doesn't feel like that strong of a piece, so it may break off if you're not careful with it, especially this tab right here that actually clicks in to the side of the shell. That may be a problem. I would fix it with some kind of magnetic thing, since really there's not a whole lot to it, and you'll notice it's relatively symmetrical after that. It doesn't have just this growth on the side. They tried to make it look pretty nice over here. You prime it. It rotates on the prime, of course. We fire it. Now this one didn't come out, and that's kind of just a problem with the old shells and the old darts. Just gonna rotate that. It did rotate. See if we can put that back in there or something. Fire it. Uh-oh. Let's see. Uh-oh. Not getting anything out of this. Ooh, one of the darts tried to come out. Alright, let's just pitch that one. Try this again. There we go, and you can see the distance is pretty respectable. Like, that's not bad at all. Like, seriously, that's pretty darn good, and it's doing that again. Some of these are just not working, and that's probably because they were in my pocket, I won't lie. But let's try it again. There we go. And we'll just start dumping shells. You gotta hold the button down and just rotate the turret, and we'll just dump the shells, because obviously that orange piece of plastic in there is actually actuated by this little thing right there. Load it a couple more times. Any more? Yeah, I've got a couple more. Load it up. It's that easy to load this thing up. Prime it. Fire. There we go. And it looks looks like we're out. That last one didn't fire, but not a big deal. And then just press the button, just hold it down, and we'll just dump the shells, or of course index it, and press the button. Yeah, this thing is really freaking cool. No joke. So, yeah, these things are actually freaking cool. Obviously not performers by any means, but they are really, really fun to use. This completes the Cowboy action loadout. If you were looking for something like that, it's awesome. And while it may not be a great performer by any means, it is certainly fun. Let me know what you think about the BuzzBee Mustang 6 down in the comment section below. I'm interested to hear if you've seen any mods for these things. I may mod this one myself. The only reason why I don't mod these things too often is because, well, not this thing specifically, but the shell blasters in their entirety is because you have to modify the shells, and that means I have to modify like 50 or 60 shells, which can be pretty expensive and time consuming, so I haven't done it yet, but let me know what you think. I'm Walcom S7, thank you very much for watching this video, and of course I hope to see you in an entirely different one.